Chinese master.
With anything, right? I mean, they're not marked by their specificity.
That's right, containers. That's a great term.
Hey.
Yeah, but Scott, I would say there's some reference to it. I mean, without the container at all. When upon our founding, we set in motion the foundational principles that would allow us to adapt and become the best that we can be. We didn't create a rigidity for our government that wouldn't allow us to adapt, wouldn't allow us to flourish. So, you know, and everything that followed as the evolution of the country continued, it was foundational, and the trajectory or the arc of it was set in motion at the very foundation. So I would say, you know, that supplies the contents of your container.
Could that therefore become maladaptive as well?
See, I would actually want to argue that there's things you're talking about, Steve, might actually be the container, right? That actually the constitutional framework and the foundation for liberal society, which you can have, you know, right or left-wing forms of, right? I mean, that could include Reaganism, it could include FDR. All of those are things that can fit in that container, right?
Yeah, that's a good nuance point. And the dude's point, yeah, I mean, anytime you set in motion something that has the ability to be changed and be pliable, there's a chance that it can occur. You know, it's like the founders, they talked about the principles that would allow what they laid in place to flourish. And they set out very distinct reasoning and conduct that was required to make it work the way it was intended. But that doesn't mitigate the foundational principles that were set in place. Any system and any government can have mutations and abuses to it. But I think we set in motion the greatest document that liberal democracy has ever seen, in my opinion.
So when you say we set in motion, you mean Jews?
No, our founders, Madison, Jefferson, Washington, all the founding fathers of this country, you know, there's well thought out individuals.
They were concerned about human rights.
So you just asking that question shows that you don't know what is being discussed, and probably that you have illusions for asking.
He's referring to we. I'm asking him who is he talking about.
Yeah, well, if you were listening,
the American
you'd be able
people.
to figure that out.
Do American founders of the America, did they believe in human rights?
Did they what?
Were they believing to human rights?
Of course they
care
did.
about that?
Inalienable, self-evident, and true.
Yeah, all men are created equal. Read the document.
Yeah.
Really?
What?
Really?
What is more foundational to human rights that all men...
Human rights are talking about. Human rights is bullshit, which was created after them.
They're not bullshit. They're our
It is
values.
bullshit.
No,
I think the point I'm trying to make is that when the Constitution was written, yes, unalienable rights if you're a white landowner, like 110%.
Well, not everybody agreed with that. But
The whole point is to say, like, I think I understand what he's saying, because I was just like, wow, that's a bold statement that Steve made, where he said the United States Constitution, out of all the 182 codified constitutions around the world, because every single country has one, for you to say that America's was the best, like, unless you have lived a lot of your life outside of the United States, like, what is your basis for saying that is the best constructed piece of legal, a legal framework that was formed into a codified constitution? Why is that the best out of the 182 other ones that exist?
Founders of America believe in human rights.
Just for the record, they don't all have it, right? England doesn't have a written constitution. Israel doesn't have a written constitution. Lots of liberal democracies function without a written constitution.
Yeah, that's right. I wasn't including Israel or the United Kingdom. They have uncodified constitutions. We understand that. But there are Australia.
You're reading Hermes way too charitably. He's an anti-Semite troll. You realize this, yes?
Yeah,
No, I did not realize that. I was making the overall point.
Is really aloof, really aloof.
There are Republicans and there are Democrats. Republicans defend Constitution. Democrats defend human rights. So what that tells me is that human rights are fundamentally anti-constitutional. And when you try to tell me that the founding fathers of the USA were about human rights, that's language. And
You got it upside down, ignorant,
you people who
backwards.
bring it
The way that, hang on a second, hang on a second. The way that we increase human rights is by using the tools of the Constitution. They're a brilliant tool that allows for the
They were created for human rights. That's the point.
You're ignorant. You're ignorant of documents that you have never read. Your first step is to read the documents, and then to read some of the scholarship about the documents. They are there to guarantee human rights. They're in the Bill of Rights. If you don't know, read the Bill of Rights and see what we vigorously defend as our values, and then comment.
Do you have human rights there?
First off, I don't agree with his opinion.
Practice First Amendment.
So we're
Hey, Pat! Pat, why don't you learn how to have a conversation, Pat?
It's going to divulge into here.
Okay, listen, I understand your
grade one level talk about human rights. Is this where we've gone?
I just want to respond to what Norm said. So, like, you said that the reason our Constitution is like one of the best out there
Well,
because it allows.
contributed to divulging this into a terrible conversation.
Well, I'm just saying that it was kind of like a pedantic response in terms of saying the great thing.
Pat, stop interrupting! Hermes!
Is that we can make amendments to it. And again, I say that of the 182 countries that have codified constitutions, almost all of them make addendums and amendments and add that into their Bill of Rights. So that that's the thing that my whole point is, dude, I don't know why you're picking on me. You said we have the best constitution in the world, and then Norm, to supplement it, said it's because we can change it over time.
No, it's because we can use it to expand human rights, either legislatively or with Supreme Court decisions.
So
Like
you're
giving
just
women.
using
Hang on a
Constitution
second.
for your
Wait,
own
don't
cause.
interrupt. For example, abolishing slavery was a massive step forward for humanity. We were one of the first places that did that. Many places continued with slavery well into the 20th century.
Was it constitutional?
Wait, of course it was.
Was it constitutional?
Of course it was.
Yes, of course it was.
Yeah, it was actually an amendment to the Constitution. In fact, there were 3 amendments to the Constitution: to emancipate enslaved people and to grant them rights. And then it's been a relentless progression or evolution towards compensating the evil that was inflicted by enslavement. And we're still
Hermes,
doing
what
that.
is the point? Hermes, what is the point you're trying to make?
Dr. Francis.
Let me make my point, guys. Let me make my point.
Okay,
How
make
are you
one
going
point.
to practice
Well, we've been
First
waiting for
Amendment
10
if
minutes.
there are human
One
rights?
point.
Answer
One
the
point.
question.
1 point. The answer is
How
yes.
are you
Next
going
question.
to practice First Amendment, which is free speech, when there
With
are
the press.
human rights?
With the freedom of the press. Your next question.
Did he make a point?
It is not about
Hello?
just freedom of speech.
I have question for room.
Freedom of religion. Freedom of association.
I have question for room. If you put me in queue after Hermes is done, thank you.
Can you answer the question? How are
We
we
just
going
answered
to
it.
practice First Amendment if there is free speech? For example, I want to practice free speech and condemn some religion, and that religious guy is going to tell you that I have human rights to practice my religion. So how
Yes.
am I
I just
going
told
to
you.
practice my free speech?
I just told you.
What we learn in first grade is that my rights end where your nose begins, so to speak. So what you have to do is remember there are other people, in the world, and you are entitled to practice your free speech, which means that you can't be arrested for.
So you have to stop interpret free speech however you want now because of human rights
No,
activists.
well, yes, we are human rights activists, and I'm proud of being a human rights activist. I mean,
Hello? Hello, I have question for you too. I know Hermes is dominating stage, but I want to ask question too. Dr. Francine, Bernie Sanders has raised almost $1 billion since the year 2000, and his biggest donors are from Big Pharma. So if you believe in human rights and you believe in, human social action, I mean, Dr. Francine, Bernie Sanders is the biggest hypocrite and genocider and bullshitter amongst us. He has killed millions through abortion funding and through vaccine funding and even war funding, Dr. Francine. Bernie Sanders should be arrested and put in jail for war crimes against humanity.
guess what? I'm not
Human rights is
Bernie.
the biggest
I'm
scam
not
in the history of
defending
humanity.
Bernie Sanders.
No, but man, that's the worst improvisation in the last 3 years I've heard from you. This is below your average, like your average skill level. Could completely tell who it is, and the accent wasn't very good.
I'm only speaking like this because Hermes is annoying me and Hermes won't stop talking and he won't make no point. So I am now imitating our friend here, Hermes.
By the way, Bernie does not take
And
any
that's
money
what happens
from
without good
My
moderation.
point is, how are you going to not destroy constitutional, what's
As a ruler,
like fundamental
or a hammer,
constitution
or a saw. It is a way of thinking which enables us to control our environment. By observing regularities, and then by making a calculus, which is a process really of betting. Will it be regular next time? And the odds are that it may be. If it's done it once this way, it's likely to do it again that way. So in this way, you predict eclipses of the sun. You predict the phases of the moon. You measured, you counted how it went, how often it did it like this, how often it did it like that. And you say, well, it keeps on doing it. And you think, wow, this is fascinating. It seems to obey me, because now I can tell you any time it's going to come up. And if the other people around haven't figured it out, they think I'm magic, because I'm going to say to them, the moon's going to change at such and such a time. So many days from now, it's going to have a different shape. And they'll say, my God, he was right. And they'll think I'm making it happen, because I can do that. And so I get a rather privileged position, because I could predict. But that's the basic idea, you see, of the law of nature. The law of nature is a human network, like the lines of celestial latitude and longitude. They don't exist in the heavens, but we project them on the sky in order to measure the positions of the stars. Because the stars are scattered in a very confusing way. And just try and remember that mess and figure it out. The clever ones, you see, just said, look at it through a network, a spherical network. You can number all the squares in the spherical network in accordance with the principles of the circle, the 360 degrees. You throw the network on the sky. It isn't really there, see? Then to help you a little further, pick out some of the big stars and see if they make a shape. You know, this is like doing a Rorschach test. And you see, oh, look, there's one over there that looks like a dipper. Or some people call it a plow. And there's one there that looks like a cross. There's one there that, by some extreme wangling, can be made to look like a virgin. And all these lines that join the constellations together are our ways of projecting a pattern upon this great and glorious confusion so that we can remember it and chart it. But obviously, you can very well see that if you looked at this same pattern of stars from some completely different position in space, all those constellations and their arrangements would vanish. And you'd have to invent a new one. Because there is nowhere where the stars really are. It depends where you're looking from. So in this sense then, man in nature with his extraordinary symmetrical brain and its amazing complications figures it out. And it's man who introduces the law into the world. He invents it. But in a way, invent is to discover. But what we discover, in a way, is not something that's out there. When we invent the laws of nature, we are discovering something about ourselves and our own passion for prediction, for regularity, for keeping things under control. Therefore, there has to be a law. So then, going back right now to the beginning of what I started to say, the question was then, what is the law of relationship between the atoms, between the fundamental vivid laws of which the world is composed? Well, you watch the game of billiards, and there's a cue, and it hits that ball, and then it hits that one, and then that hits that one, and then that hits that one. And so the final ball, which moves into the pocket, has its behavior explained through its contact with the other billiard balls, the final contact with the cue. That's why it did it. And so this view of the world as something that happens by the mechanical processes of the law